taken some heat this week for play calling, especially with the run and pass ratio. I'm just curious, how often did Jalen Hurts check out runs early in that first half?
There was some times there are going to be RPOs that were reading somebody. So, that one time, we're expecting to hand it off, but the guy does something a little different than what we thought, and we pull the ball. And that's going to happen. I get that. But as far as checking out of plays, we had some things that we were at the line of scrimmage doing, and there wasn't a lot of those either. So again, I do need to do a better job running the football. There's no question about that. We need to be able to do that to help us be a balanced team and help us win football games. But sometimes RPOs do play out that way, and what we do is we count RPOs. If they're going to take a guy and replace and get him out of position for the pass, we actually count those as runs. But we got to run the ball more.
With those RPOs, though, obviously it can lend itself to an out of whack ratio. Does that bother you at all? Or are you okay with living with it?
I'm okay with living with that as far as the ratio, because like I said, we're reading a guy, right? We're not blocking a guy, in which it creates better angles for the entire offensive line when you do that. Because you're just reading what did you do? Oh, you did that. I hand it off. Oh, you did this. I pull it. So I'm comfortable with that. We count those as runs.
Are the lack of pre-snap motions and motions at the snap designed to help Jalen?
No, we motion for a very distinct reason. We're going to motion if we can create an advantage, if we can figure out what defense they're in, if we, majorly those two things, if we can get a guy in position to do his job better. So we're not a team that's going to motion to motion. We're going to do it for those three main reasons.
So what are some of the ways that Jalen gets pre-snap indicators?
Through different formations that you're in, where linebackers are set, where safeties are set, if corners are over, the communication in bunches and stacks, the way they so there's just a lot of different ways you can do that. Communication, numbers over bunches and stacks. I pretty much gave you a lot of those, but I probably shouldn't have, knowing the other teams could listen. But we find different ways to give him the coverage indicators. We're fighting like crazy to get that, many different ways, and there's different ways to get it. In fact, I think defenses have gotten a lot better in general, taking away some of the motion, like the one that you saw a lot that I've seen over and over again is you're in 3-by-1, you put the back out wide, create empty, you bring them home. Well, defenses they know what you're doing, and they've gotten better at disguising that. I'm not saying that's why we're not doing it, but they have gotten better at disguising it.
One of the things Jalen was saying after the game, obviously, is he took the blame for the loss and everything like that. How would you assess the way he played, like the decisions he made and stuff?
Yeah, I don't think that's fair for him to say I take the blame for a loss on his part, but that's what we have built our program on, right? Is that one of them? The main thing is accountability, and everyone should feel that way. Everyone should feel after a game that you lose, like, what happened? Oh man, if I would have just made this play or this play or this play, that's on. We would have won, and I think that's natural for people that take accountability of what they do. I mean, that's what I do. That's what our coaches do. That's what our players do. Like, hey, if I would have just made this play, and this play, it would have been better. And so I don't think it's fair that he puts it all on himself, but I do like the fact that he's taking accountability for the things that he feels like he messed up. I don't think he played his best game. I don't think he played a bad game. There's improvement. We all need to improve. When you lose like we lost on Monday night, everybody needs to improve. Everybody needs to look in the mirror, starting with myself. And people are going to look up to Jalen and the things that he says and he does, and he leads by example. So I'm glad that he's living that way and taking his responsibilities as he needs to. That doesn't surprise me, though.
Devonta Smith was targeted 13 times over the last couple games, I believe, and Jalen and Devonta are growing together. They only caught 5 of those balls. What needs to happen from all of you to build that production and get them going together?
Yeah, we can get him some other easy touches here and there just to help him get going, and I think that's when you're kind of in a I don't want to say rut because I don't believe it's that, but when you have that, like you said, 5 for 13, we just got to get them a couple easy touches here and there, and that's kind of like what you do with the quarterback too, or a foul shooter or a good shooter. You got to see the ball go through the hoop a couple times. So just get them a couple easy touches here and there. I know we got the one. We had a guy down. We threw a screen to him. We had a guy downfield, so that was what we were trying to do on that play. But just got to get him a couple easy touches to get. He's a confident guy, so it's not to get his confidence back, but just to get him in a groove. Sorry.
Now that you've lost Isaac for the year, does that sort of change your thinking at the guard positions? Because Brandon's going to be back at some point. Do you start to think about maybe situating Landon on the left side, or is that too many moving parts?
Yeah, we've thought through every different scenario. At this time, I think it's a competitive advantage for us not to discuss who's going to play where, but especially for this week, the people will figure out who we're playing where, obviously after this week. But as far as when Brandon gets back, we got some time to think about that, because we got a little bit of time before Brandon. Obviously, losing Isaac it hurts because he's a good player, he's a good teammate, and we'll miss him out there.
Hey,
Nick, with on one of the broadcasts, they said that they believe that Jalen doesn't hang in the pocket long enough to go through his progressions, and he gets out too quickly. Have you seen that? And if so, do you work on that?
So from the beginning, we've been talking about, hey, how do we? Because I heard something one time where his off-schedule throws on first and second down were like 50% or whatever it was, right? And then I heard that our old quarterback in Indy, Phillip, was like 14%. So they were at the vast difference of the spectrum of, one was number 1 in the league, one was 32, whatever it was. And my point was to him is, hey, we got to bring that from 50 to 35. And by no means do I want you to get to 14, because you guys are different players, right? But get that to 35. And I think, that's what because he still has this unbelievable weapon of being able to extend plays and being able to make things happen out of the pocket. So, yes, we want him to throw in rhythm, but we don't want to limit him to who he is and what he can do. So again, it's a fine line right there. I think he's done a better job. Are there plays that I thought that he got out of the pocket too quick? Sure, there's going to be a couple of those, but those are going to be things that we're constantly talking about. And again, I got to do my job as a coach of, yes, getting him is at 35, but not limiting to him to what his strengths are and who he is as a player.
Nick, you mentioned accountability earlier. How are players being held to account? Like, you obviously noticed Dark Barnett is frequently, has penalties. You guys are number 1 in the league in penalties. Mm-hmm. You talk about holding yourself to account, but how are the players being
There's I think that when you hold a player to a standard, I don't want to say it that way. When you hold a player to a standard, you just point out the mistakes. It's as simple as hey, here's what went wrong, here's what the standard is, and that's what our job is, to paint the picture. Obviously, the standard in penalties is don't jump off sides, don't both sides of the ball, right? But you paint the standard of what's required on each play, and when the play is met, when the standard is met on the play, you congratulate and you get excited about it. When it's not, you correct it. And it's really as simple as that. So when we're watching tape, if this was the tape right here and we're watching the film right here, right, the play's up at the top, the numbers of who made a mistake on the play are down here at the bottom left. And so that's every play that they watch. Practice, game, it doesn't matter. It's down here at the bottom left. So every play they're getting corrected visually, and then they'll hear us talking about it. The way you handle it is different every time. Sometimes it's hey, we got to do this here, blah blah blah. Sometimes it's like, hey, we got to do this. It's just, the tone's different every time, and the tone and the way you do it every time is different. But what's very clear is here's the standard, here's what's expected. If we don't live up to that standard, this is we correct it. If we do, we high five, we congratulate each other.
Can you tell that Barnett's getting it?
As a follow-up to that.
Can you tell that Barnett's getting it?
Yeah, I do. I do. Obviously, the pre-snap penalties. We had too many pre-snap penalties on all of us, and that's just concentration. That's just focus. That's just being disciplined. And that, Derek wasn't the only one that had a false start. Pardon me, an encroachment or offsides. And so we all got to get better at that. But yeah, I see improvement. And that's, again, that's our job as coaches to point it out and not let anything slide. I mean, we owe it to our team to just every little detail, hammer home every detail, not let anything slide. That's how you get better.
But in general, if that standard isn't met continually, what are the stakes for that player outside of messing up on
Sure, it's just like it's like a play. If we're running a play to Kenny Gainwell, and I'm just using him as an example, and we practice that play, and he doesn't accomplish his goal in the play, well, we're crazy to keep putting him in on that same play, right? And so it's like that with everything. I mean, that's how we're gonna put the guys in we trust, we trust Derek. I know that's where you're going with that, and we trust our players. But it's like that with everything. If a play's not working out the way it's supposed to be because the guys continue to make mistakes, that guy can't be in on that play. And it's no different there with pre-snap penalties as well.
Do you have weekly meetings with Jeffrey Lurie and Howie Roseman, and if so, when?
Yeah, we talk all the time. This is awesome organization in the sense that Mr. Lurie's at practice all the time, so I get to talk to him at practice every day at practice. So as far as a scheduled meeting, no, there's no scheduled meeting.
With Miles Sanders, do you have to have a conversation with him, just let him know he's still a big part of things, and after just 5 touches?
Yeah.
And part 2 of that is just, do you see him as the kind of guy that you really just have to find a way to get the ball in his hands X amount of times each game? Yeah,
I do. I mean, I don't want to say it's an X amount of game. Does he need more than 5 touches? Of course. The way the game went, he didn't get that. And yes, when guys, and I don't want to just single out Miles, but when guys are down because of their role and we expect more out of their role, whether because they didn't accomplish it on their own or I didn't give them a chance to accomplish it on their own, we got to pick guys up. That's what a team does. Pick them up and let them know that you believe in them still. And so, as far as Miles getting touches, there's no doubt we got to get our playmakers the ball. He's a playmaker. He's shown that he's a playmaker. Whether it's in screen game, whether it's out of the backfield or getting the ball.
To follow up on Jalen Hurts, and the RPO stuff, are you happy with the decision making he's doing in those situations and going with to the right place with the ball when
I am. Yeah, I am. And that's you almost he's done a really good job of going through his reads, in my opinion, too, of where I think he's going when it's drop back pass game or when it's play action pass game. I see him going to the right place with the ball often. All right, more so, way more, like an acceptable amount, if not more. With the RPOs, you read one guy, right? And so I think because he's handling the volume of a lot of things well as far as his decision making. I think RPOs are even easier, and he's handling that as well too.
Wes Watkins, it looks like he's been very effective early, not getting as much playing time as say Devonta and Jalen. Do you think at some point he's pushing for that because he's been
I think that we have a very talented young wide receiver core that will play itself out. Like, this is just the way this business goes, right? You make plays, we're going to find ways to get you more plays. You don't make plays, you're going to get weeded out of the equation. And Quez has done a really good job of making plays. There's no doubt about it. So he's done a great job. I think someone asked me last week about that. He's done a great job not just playing with his speed, but also playing physical, playing mean, playing tough, and going up and getting the ball on contested catches.
It was clear during the spring and summer you were keeping your offense under wraps, at least publicly. Now, after a few games, what would you say is the identity of your offense, or I guess what do you want it to be?
Yeah, I want to be create explosive plays and protect the football. That's always going to be our identity, because those are just you win the turnover margin and you win the explosive play battle, then you're going to win a lot of games. And so that's always where it's going to start on that. And it is multiple. It's based off of what teams are giving you and what's going to happen. So we're going to be able to be in our play actions and be able to push it down the field. We want to be able to dink and dunk. When the defense gives you that, we want to be able to run RPOs. Obviously, you've seen us run Jalen. We want to be able to do that. Our screen game, our movements, those are just some different things. And we want to be able to run the football and take some off of a young quarterback and help out. So because when you run the football too, it creates explosive plays with the play action game.
All right,
All right, guys.